garden preparation. My lips a little dry. We are going to be prepping the garden for planting because I got some seedlings that are just about, if y'all can see right there on the back steps, they are ready to be planted. So I need to get 1, 2, 3, 4 beds prepped and ready. I hope that y'all can take this video and apply it to if you had a normal backyard. Like, let's say you just had grass like there, you would just like, I'm gonna ask you to, Corona, I've been washing my hands. You just dig up a plot and prep it. So basically all you do is you dig it up, you measure it out. I forget what the measurements are for these beds, but basically you just measure out what you want. Some people do like the square foot method. Just do whatever you want to do, I don't care. I'm just gonna go over the basics of how you prep a traditional garden. So I have 3 beds. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it because honey is big and pregnant. Dig it up, that's number 1. Dig it up, and then what you want to do is turn the soil over. So I'm going to show that, turning the soil over, get the weeds out. And then I would say what I did last year, because mine's are already ready, prepped, so I'm going to skip this step. What I did last year was, because the grass was like fresh like that back there, I came out every 3 days and turned the soil. Take the grass with the roots and toss them over there. And I know you guys can't see it, but there's a little small compost pile right there where I just would toss it over there with the weeds and stuff, so I didn't have to worry about it. I don't use the compost pile because this is not my yard, so I don't use it. Next step is, after you turn it over, you want to prep the soil by preparing it. Prep the soil by putting supplements. Bam. I stay in the hood, I'm sorry. I can't control my neighbors and they're loud ass me on that. They play Michael Jackson. Beat it. If the wind and if all the other outside stuff is just too much, I'm gonna do a voiceover. I'm telling y'all that right the F now. We're gonna get all of that up, clean it up, make it look real nice. I don't know what that bed is for. I forget. I have it written out, but I just don't remember what it is. This bed that I'm going to primarily focus on today is for the tomatoes. And I'm focusing on this because I need to get the kale plants up out of here because it went to seed and now it's time to go. And then I want to get the mulch up out of here. Okay, honey? And then I just want to, it's not a lot of weeds because it was mulch in here, so this is going to be easy. Dry lips. Hey guys, here you see me digging up the kale from last year because I want to get this bed prepped and ready for my tomato and pepper plants. I wanted to come on here to elaborate on some of the things I spoke about in the earlier clips, as well as some things that I may have missed. When you are starting out a new garden with fresh land that has not been dug up, what you want to do, the first thing you want to do is go out there, survey the land, and plan what you want to dig up and what plants you would like to plant. Some things to keep in mind is you want to make sure the land is getting, or the area where you're planting is getting, a minimum of 6 hours of sunlight. And that's because most of the vegetable plants that you'll be planting require 6 to 8 hours of sunlight, with the exception of maybe like the leaves, with maybe the exception of the leafy greens such as collards, mustards, kale. Those all do well in partial shade. Romaine, buttercrunch lettuce, etc., as well as some of the root vegetables, carrots, radishes. Those do well in partial shade as well. So moving on, once you've decided where you want to plant You want to measure out your garden beds. This is assuming you're not using raised beds. I don't have raised beds, so I won't be talking about it. So you want to measure out the land and how big you want your garden beds. As you can see, I'm able to reach the middle of the garden bed without stepping on the actual bed, just from the walkway. So you want to make sure you have that kind of reach, because you never want to step on the garden bed. That's a no-no. Remember that is a no-no. So clear out the land, make sure there's no debris before you start digging up. And once you've done that, you want to dig up the land and you want to get that soil turned over. A tip that I want to give you guys is, once you dig it up and you turn it over, go out every 3 days and turn it over, and do that until you're ready to plant whatever you're going to plant, whether it's direct sow or you're transplanting. Go out every 3 days and turn that soil over, because each and every time you'll see some type of growth from weeds or grass. What I did was I turned it over every 3 days. I went out, I got the weeds that popped up, tossed them to the side. I grabbed some of the grass chunks, like similar to what you see right here, and just shook off that dirt and turned it over. And then right before I think it was 3 days before I decided to plant, I went ahead and I added peat moss and worm castings just to supplement the soil. So that brings me to the next thing you want to do. You want to add organic matter back to the soil. I use peat moss and worm castings. My soil already has sand in it, so I don't have to worry about. I didn't worry about the sand part, and I don't think that's. I mean, peat moss and sand make a great soil mixture to add to the soil, but I mean, you just work with what you got. If you have a compost pile, that is great. That is probably going to be the best thing. But if you don't, again, peat moss, worm castings. So you add that to the soil, and then you turn it over, just like how you see me turning the soil over now. And you do that right before you want to plant. So in the next clip coming up, you'll see me planting some beans, and I am transplanting them kind of early, but that's because, as you can see, little baby Z is on his way, and I'm trying to get as much done as possible because I am going into my 3rd trimester, and I need to get some things planted so the garden can get growing, so I won't have as much work to do later on in the last stages of my pregnancy. Hey, baby Z. And that's really all it is. That is really all it is. That's the fertilizer I'm using, as you can see. Sprinkle that in there, and then you just turn over the soil. And that's how I prep my gardens. Mother got her waist beads on. Yes, ma'am. Still wear them. Pregnant as hell. Heck. Oh, I'm sorry. Pregnant as heck. That's me. Digging up the area. These are pole beans, so that little green wire is to help the beans grow up, because they grow like a vine and they'll continue to grow, and they grow up or out if you let them, but they're going to attach themselves to whatever they can feel for. So that's to help them grow the way that I want them to grow, which is up. So yeah. Thank you for watching this video. Please remember to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. That was a rock. Let me tell you, when you dig up the when you dig up your garden bed for the first time, you're going to see a lot of stuff, rocks, debris. I was finding plastic bottles, old tools like rusted tools, rods, etc.